Hey folks, Harris Rubenstein here for Chat Sports. Joining me today is Brent Corobotiuc, the head risk manager at BetDSI. Brent, thank you for joining us today.
I appreciate you having me on, Harris.
So let's get right into things. Let's start with the NFL going on this weekend. Talk to us about a couple of games that have seen the biggest line movements this week, and why do you think some of those lines are moving so much?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, with one of these games, there's been a ton of movement and ton of movement across what we call key numbers as well. That would be the Baltimore game. The Baltimore's at home to Buffalo. Now, the quarterback situations and stuff like that with Buffalo have affected this line as well. But also, I do have sharp money on Baltimore, so that's never a good spot for us. Now, this line, it really started getting bet on Baltimore minus 4.5, and went up to -7. And you know, if you know with point spreads and such, the most common outcomes of games in terms of handicapping wise are the 3 and the 7 because of the way they score. Now that has changed a bit in terms of the the 2-point converts and stuff like that, and moving the extra point back, but it's still 3 and 7 kind of dominate. So once it got to 3, you really wanted to hold Baltimore on, once it got to 7, you really wanted to hold Baltimore and hold that number as much as you can. But we're up to 7.5 now just because of so much money that's come on Baltimore. 7.5, I got a lot of money on Baltimore, and the live movement from 4.5 all the way to 7.5 really scares us because you can set yourself up for a middle if money starts coming back the other way on Buffalo, say plus 7.5, and you got all this money bet at 5.5 and 6 on Baltimore. Should the game land 7, it wouldn't be a good result for us. Another one that's kind of not as much movement but creeping down is Tennessee. They're at Miami this week, and they were opened up as a 2.5-point favorite. That line's down to -1 right now. So, and I have seen kind of what I'm going to call pseudo sharp money coming back on Miami, the home dog there. Just as a general thing, betting on home dogs is kind of a decent strategy in terms of starting to look for value, and just going against what I just said would be the case with the Rams on the road at Oakland. That's the second game of the Monday doubleheader. Rams -2.5. They're up to 4 right now. So that's the fact that line went from 2.5 and just blew right through 3, as I mentioned, the key number 3, to now -4 where they are right now. That's again a bad spot for us should the Rams win by 3.
So which NFL teams are you seeing the most total amount of money bet on them by the general public? And has that really affected the lines that much, or is you seeing a lot of those lines, like I say, the Cowboys or the Rams, are they getting a lot of money, but so are their opponents? Which ones are getting the most right now?
Yeah, we always seem to get more money on certain teams, and like part of what we do obviously is kind of profile our customers and do the best we can in that and kind of save ourselves in the long run. There's certain teams like New Orleans games. I'm always going to get over money on New Orleans games. I'm almost always going to get over money on New England games, and we always need to get over money on New England. I always kind of joke around and I say the next time that we actually need New England to win, that'll be the first time we actually ever needed them to win. So just your typical public teams with Pittsburgh, New England, and the Cowboys, of course, are one of those America's team that always get support. So we always have a lot of money on those teams, and we kind of look at in terms of our decision and coming up with our opening numbers and such. If we're going to open a number, say New England, are we going to open up that number like 6.5 or 7? We always kind of lean to the higher side in games like that because we have a general feeling in terms of which way our customer base is going to go.
Well, Brent Corobotiuc joining us here from BetDSI. If you want to bet on NFL games this year, head to chatsports.com/bet. BetDSI is giving us the best deal on the internet. Use our promo code LIVE120 to get a 120% deposit bonus. What does that mean? You put down $100, you get $120 for free for a grand total of $220 to bet on. Again, head to chatsports.com/bet. Use our promo code LIVE120. All right, Brent, let's keep going on here. Where are the sharps betting this weekend in the NFL? Is there a specific team that they are really keying in on?
Well, I did touch on the Baltimore was quite a sharp play, and that game, like I said, went from 4.5 all the way up to 7.5 where we are right now. So that's a big move and a lot of money, and also the public is on that side as well, and which is kind of a bad spot for us. Like the ideal situation for me in terms of my risk management side is when I've got a lot of public money betting on Team A, for example, and I got sharp money on TB. This is a case where the public will generally back the, home favorites, and they did in this case with Baltimore. So I have both sharp and public money on Baltimore. So I'm just kind of fishing to get something back on Buffalo, or just hope they come up with the, with a cover for us. Sharp money on Buffalo, like I said, Baltimore came in at around 6.5. We're up to 7.5 now. The Colts total actually is one that's gone up from 47 to 48. Cincinnati and the Colts, you got Luck back, and I guess maybe perhaps two bad defenses there. So I got over money on that game. Another kind of double whammy here is the Chargers -3. They're at home to Kansas City, so I've got sharp money on the Chargers there. That lines up to 3.5 right now. And same thing with the total there. I had sharp money on the over 47. Excuse me, we're up to 47.5 there as well. And Seattle and Denver, the total there, under money was sharp. That was under 43.5, where that came in. We're at 42.5 right now. And as I touched on a little bit earlier with the Rams play, that was not a good spot for us in terms of the sharp money coming in on the Rams. They're up to -4 right now. Sharp money was on them -3. And again, that's, the Rams are kind of like a team that a lot of people like starting last season, and looks like that's going to continue in terms of my actual wager count. It's like 5 times favoring the Rams. And what I mean by that is like the actual individual number of wagers on the Rams, 5 times in their favor. So that's going to be a bad spot for us. But, long term, if like on a Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night game, if you need the home dog, long term, that's probably a good spot to be sitting.
All right, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys, because obviously they're America's team, the most popular team that we have here in the NFL. Do you think their popularity nationwide kind of leads to see them, some more betting action on their lines? And thus, does that make betting against them a better idea?
I think Dallas is one of those teams that a lot of people are kind of finicky with, in that week in, week out, you really don't know which way they're going to go. It's one of those teams where, as much as people, like them, there's those people who kind of like to hate them as well. It's almost like a Floyd Mayweather kind of situation sometimes, in that people just want to bet against them because they hate them so much, or people love them so much that they do bet on them. So Dallas is one of those teams where it really goes week to week. I mean, this week in particular, for example, I've got, pretty much even money in terms of the actual number of bets I've taken both ways. Dallas is at Carolina this week, so it's a decent game, but Dallas is definitely one of those teams where they used to be, like America's favorite, if you want to say, but definitely, New England's kind of passed them in terms of the team who week after week people are consistently betting on.
Brent Corobotiuc joining us here from BetDSI. Again, folks, head to chatsports.com/bet. Use our promo code LIVE120 to get a 120% deposit bonus. Thank you for joining us today, Brent.
Yeah, no, glad to have you on.